Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to review the Season 2 finale of Batwoman entitled Power. So this episode starts off with Black Mask, who has taken over the airwaves in Gotham. And he vows to tear it all down, the system, Gotham, the power structure, whatever, and I guess replace it with his own kind of rule? I don't know. And he asks the citizenry to join him, and he lets them know that he's put a bunch of, I guess you'd call them stockpiles of masks like his at different places around the city. He wants them all to take one and join him in his fight. And it reminded me of what happens in the Joker movie when all the people are sort of putting on clown masks to like identify with Joker. So that was pretty cool, if derivative. There's a scene where we have Ryan journaling, talking about her journey up to this point as Batwoman, about how it's changed her, about how she's really liked being able to help the people of Gotham. And I thought that was great because I like to see, scenes where characters are reflecting and taking stock. Those are usually good scenes if they're done right. So that was great. And, it was a reminder of how far the Ryan character has come, which I thought was cool too, because she really has come a long way. There's a conversation about how they've just got to find Black Mask and get Kate back. And then we see Kate actually suiting up in a weird version of the bat suit where she's taken the bat symbol and put like a scar on it. It was kind of weird. So she's ready to go to war, it looks like. Then we see where Black Mask has Tamarov on a slab, the former Crow that was kind of a jerk and who shot Luke, and they're giving him the Bane treatment. They're kind of trying to make him like Bane, like they strap him with all that weird fluid or whatever it is that gave Bane his crazy strength in the comics and in one of the Batman movies, two of the Batman movies. And so he's going to be a threat, obviously. And we learn what Roman's plan is, what Black Mask's We learn what Black Mask's plan is in a little more detail. He's planning to terrorize the city as Black Mask, and then as Roman show up and take out Black Mask or capture Black Mask or otherwise neutralize Black Mask and be the hero so that he can then, I guess, become mayor or chief of police or whatever and get into a position of power in the city, which is a pretty good plan, actually, when you think about it. We then see Ryan having a conversation, I think, with Mary. Might have been Sophie. I don't know. Anyway, she's having a conversation about how she doesn't think she is Batwoman anymore. Am I Batwoman without the suit, without, the gadgets and so forth? I'm really just Ryan. And Sophie says, damn right, you're just Ryan Wilder, and you kick ass. And you're going to set things right. And I thought that was very cool. Now, Alice shows up and offers to team up with Ryan to get Kate back because, again, that's very much in her interest. She wants to get her sister back. So I thought that was cool because I think they make a good team, as we've seen before, even though they're opposite sides of sort of the same coin, even though Ryan has a lot against her because she killed her mother. So I like the Alice character, and I think that there's good chemistry between her and Ryan. I never really got the chemistry between Alice and Kate in the first season. It fell flat for me, but I think these two characters really gel and they play off each other and they're good for each other in terms of how they push each other and help each other grow. Turn introspective, examine themselves and grow. I think not only does Ryan do that for Alice, I think Alice does that for Ryan. And I think that's really cool. So I was glad that they went that route. Meanwhile, Luke comes across the Batwing suit, which is cool, at least insofar as the suit itself is cool. I'm not sure I want there to be a second costume hero on this show because all the other shows have that. And it can take the show down some paths where there's too many chefs in the kitchen kind of thing, too many heroes to write for. I think they're better off with hero and support team. I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but the suit's definitely cool. But getting back to Alice and Ryan, who have teamed up, as I said, there is a great scene between them. And one of the things that comes up is the death of Ryan's mother. And Alice says to her, "You're not the hero that you think you are. Because don't forget, even though you blame me for killing your stepmother, you killed your birth mother first, just by being born," which of course is a low blow. But at the same time, it's one of those things that when you say it to someone, it may be the case that they always felt as though that was true anyway, but never faced it and never realized that it was bullshit. And when you hear it coming from someone that you detest, someone who's your adversary, it can make you realize, no, the hell with you, that's bullshit. And that's really great when you've always kind of believed it yourself anyway. And it allows you to suddenly realize for yourself, not just to tell the other person to screw, but for yourself, that it's bullshit, that you don't blame yourself for something like that. You killing your mother in childbirth, like what? So I thought it was a great moment. And I think it's something that Ryan can, and I hope will, later say made her realize that she could shed the burden of that guilt, which we don't know she ever had to begin with. But I think it would be a cool moment if she later says, I always really did feel like I killed my own mother, and I did carry some guilt for that, as irrational as it was. But now that you said that to me and pissed me off, I realize that it's bullshit. And I think that would be very cool. So that line being in there gives them a chance to do that. So I'm hoping that that happens. Tamarov then shows up at Mary's clinic, and he ends up activating with the Bane stuff, and he goes a little crazy, which wasn't cool because it was chaotic. But anyway, that happens. Then there's finally a fight between Kate and Ryan again. Both of them suited up as different versions, if you will, of a Batwoman, kind of. And Ryan says something like, "Really, you're going to hit me with my own baton? You're going to hit me with that baton that's mine?" And Kate goes, "Is it though? Is it yours?" And I thought that was pretty cool because it's funny, and because again, it feeds into Ryan's insecurities about whether or not she's Batwoman. She's coming to her own. She has come to embrace the fact that now she's Batwoman to this point, but not 100%. She's still iffy about it, and that line sort of just pokes at her again. And it's another thing that she has to, it's another moment where she has to overcome that sort of feeling of inadequacy that she might have in the part and say, yeah, it is. She doesn't. They just continue fighting. But it's the kind of thing you want to see a villain do when they're trying to defeat an enemy, and that is get in their head. And so when she says that, she's trying to get into Ryan's head, and it doesn't work. But it was cool to see. I forget exactly how it happened, but someone says to Alice something about stabbing her sister in the back. It might have been Kate, and she says, yeah, well, it's kind of our thing, which was cool. Typical Alice. But Alice and Ryan get pinned down, and again, this is another example of how they're a great team and how they bounce off each other in a good way. Ryan is seeing Kate run away, and Alice says, "You've got to follow my sister. You got to follow her." And Ryan says, "I can't beat her." And Alice says, "Yeah, well, I can't drive the Batmobile. You can. Go save my sister." So it was great because A, it's what Ryan needed to hear. It's the motivation that she needed to go and do it, to save someone, to help someone. And it's a great Alice moment because it's Alice genuinely saying she's concerned for her sister and she wants her sister back. And it shows that she has feelings. And like her father said, that she's got humanity. And that's great. It makes the character deeper every time they show that side of her. And I fucking love it. So that was a great moment. The next thing we see is that Batwing shows up and saves Mary, who was in peril because Bane had been chasing her, trying to get something from her. I forget what it was, but Batwing shows up and saves her, and that was very cool. Then they notice that the citizens of Gotham have taken their black masks and painted bats on them in like a bright color. And then they've put a candle in the back of inside the mask, and they've turned them around so that in the window at night, all you can see is the bat symbol lit up in all the windows. It was just very, very cool. Because it shows, first of all, that they still love Batwoman. They still believe in Batwoman. And it goes right in the face of Black Mask, who thought, oh, they're tired of the city too. They're tired of the crazy, Gotham stuff too. They'll take my side. They didn't. And that was just very cool. There's a cool moment where Batwing is fighting some people, and someone says, who the hell are you? And he says, I'm Justice. I thought that was cool. It's kind of a Batman line. Then we see Black Mask sort of confronting, I think it was Alice, and she hits him in the face with the Joker's acid flower. So he had to, recoil in pain and back off. So that was very cool. Then there's a scene where Ryan is driving the Batmobile. I guess she's in pursuit of Kate on her bike. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but it was like she had to avoid some spikes in the road or something. It's like, doesn't the Batmobile have run flat tires? I don't know. That was a little confusing. Then she has these guns on the Batmobile. Why does the Batmobile have guns? I know we've kind of seen that before, but like Batman supposedly doesn't believe in guns, so I'm not sure what that's about. But then she ends up using the Bat Grapple, which is cool because you want to see them use the gadgets, so I like that. Then there was another bat fight, and Ryan says, call me Batwoman. So that was really cool. The next thing we see is that Alice manages to dose Kate with, I guess what it was is some supercharged snakebite or something. And the hope was it would bring Kate's memory back. And then she and Kate go off the bridge together and into the water. Then they're both underwater and sort of unconscious. And you can see where Alice has reached out for Kate and their hands are sort of touching. And you see them have like a flashback or a vision where Alice runs through, I guess, what's supposed to be Kate's mind and lets her out of her room where she was trapped, I guess, inside her own mind. And it was reminiscent of when Alice was having visions of Kate when she thought Kate was dead and kind of had to lock Kate up in a room in her own mind, I guess, to keep Kate from bothering her conscience or something. So it was very cool to see that. And it was very cool that her sister is the one that ended up rescuing her. I really, really like that. Then both Kate and Alice come out of the water. They're doing CPR on Kate, and Alice is frantic, saying, don't die on me. And she comes around, and the first thing she says, and I knew it was going to be the first thing she said, the first thing she says is, Beth? And I just went, yes, she's back. And she recognizes Alice as Beth, which was very cool because I think that's something that Alice needed to hear. She needs to think of herself as Beth again. And the more she can be presented with, the idea that she's Beth, not Alice, the better. But the GCPD shows up and takes Alice away, which was really heartbreaking because she didn't want to be taken away from her sister. Now, the next thing that happens is there's a parole hearing for Ryan. And, they say, tell us why you should be off parole. Tell us how you've changed. And she says, you know what? I haven't changed. And I say that because I'm still the same innocent person that you guys locked up and prosecuted and persecuted. But then she says, but I did stop seeing myself as you people see me. And now I see myself as a woman who has found her power. And I just thought that was great. I think this character is great. There was never any aspect like this to the Kate character in season 1. Kate never had this depth. Kate never had this growth. Ryan has it, and she has had the growth. And I thought it was great that she said, I stopped seeing myself as you see me. And I think what she meant by that was, I stopped seeing myself as less than. And that's just great, because one of the I've said this before, one of the critiques of this season in the beginning was that Ryan always plays the victim card. Ryan's a victim. And she did see herself that way. Now she doesn't. She's grown, she's evolved, the character's developed, and it's fucking great because that's what's supposed to happen. That's the kind of character you want on a series, especially a hero. You want them to grow. You want them to be this person that was down and then came up. That's what you want. And they did it this season, and it's fucking great. I'm going to swear again because it was awesome. Then we flash over to a scene at, I guess, Wayne Tower, where Kate, now back to herself for real, is hanging out with Mary and Luke. And she says, until Alice wants to be Beth, I can't help her. Now, I don't know how true that is. I think they wrote that in because they're not going to keep Wallace Day around as Kate. So they needed to explain why they're not going to see her working with Alice, who now is in Arkham. But it's okay because it happens to be true. Until Alice wants to renounce the Alice part of herself and become Beth more than anything else, no one can help her. She has to make that choice first. So that was a line that made sense. And I think in season 3, we're going to see her do that. And I think she's going to do it with Ryan's help. Because I think Ryan really does want to help Alice. She goes to see Alice just before the episode ends. And I'll tell you about that in a second. Before that can happen, Ryan and Kate have a talk. And she says, Ryan says to Kate, thank you. The suit changed my life. And Kate says, Batwoman is yours. She officially passes the mantle. And that was very cool. I think the series needed that to happen at this point. And I think Ryan needed to hear it because, again, she still kind of feels like she was in Kate's shadow, like she wasn't worthy. And that now can't be anymore because Kate has told her, it's yours. You are Batwoman. And I just think that was awesome, that the mantle got passed officially and in a cool way. Next, we find out that Kate is leaving Gotham. She's going to go look for Bruce. She says, if I had looked for Bruce starting last year or earlier or whatever, maybe he'd already be back. I failed to look for my sister. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. But she mentions that she's going to stop in National City first. So I wonder what that's about. That, of course, is Supergirl City. So we'll have to see what happens there. If you remember at the end of season 1, they had a meeting, Kate and Kara, over a little piece of kryptonite. So maybe it's got to do with that. This is a conversation, of course, that she's having with Sophie. So Sophie says, wow, it's always about the timing with us. We never get to be together, but they have a really cool kiss. And I thought that was good because I think they're meant for each other. Whether or not that ever happens, whether we see Kate again, who knows, but it would be cool. But anyway, that was a nice scene. As I said, the next thing we see is that Ryan visits Alice. And why does she do that? Why does she do that? Why does she care? Why does she bother? Because she cares. She wants to help Alice. The thing is that Alice says to her, oh, by the way, your birth mother's alive. She didn't actually die in childbirth. So that's going to be interesting next season. And then we see, I guess, all the stuff that Kate took from the Batcave that was given to Black Mask gets like dumped out on the edge of the lake or whatever, the river in Gotham. And a jar breaks open and some, what looks like ivy starts crawling up the shore. So is that a poison ivy thing? Is it Swamp Thing? I'm kind of thinking it's not Swamp Thing because they had a series and it tanked. So I don't think they'll be bringing that in, but that was the season finale. So we're going to have to wait till next season to find out. I think that this season was good overall. It had a lot of great character stuff, a lot of great narrative stuff. There were missteps. There were episodes that were like, this is awful. They spent some time on some crappy story aspects or story points, but they did a lot of good work in this season. And I liked it a lot better than I liked the first season. I am stoked for season 3. And there you have it. So I'll be back with more reviews of Batwoman next season. And of course, I'll be back with other content here on the channel sooner, like next week. Until then, I take my leave and I say, as always, peace and long life.